Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another success interview. Today, we have a student, Madison Hoover, who has just finished the PTBI takeover program. So she joined PTBI last year, scaled up her business, took it full time, and then she just recently finished takeover, where we've helped her do some really, really incredible things. So without going too much into detail, Madison, welcome to the interview. I would love to hear a quick little background and story on how you got started with fitness and what's led you up to this point.
Oh gosh. Well, hi. I guess what got me started in fitness was basically being like super out of control with my life. I think everybody kind of has that scenario where it's like either you worked out your whole life and then you're out of sports and you have no clue what to do, or you've never worked out before and you're tired of being out of shape. But I started going into like the influencer Googling route, got really unhealthy with it, developed eating disorders, all that kind of stuff. And I lost a lot of weight, but I was like, oh, this is not sustainable. And I actually really enjoy this, but I don't like the way I'm doing it.
Mhm.
So that's actually what got me into like the education behind it all. And then I started like mock training my friends by teaching them what I was learning. And eventually I just developed a really big passion for it. And that's how it became my job.
Wow, I love that. So coaching was kind of something that you fell into naturally. Were you what time frame was this? Because I remember you'll post pictures of like you a couple years ago. I'm like, whoa, who is this person? You're so different. So what time frame did all this happen?
Yeah, so I started my sophomore year of college, and now that was in like 2015, and now it's 2022, so about 7 years ago.
Okay, cool. So you started coaching people 7 years ago.
Oh no, I started coaching people like 2 years in, so
Gotcha.
probably 5 years ago.
So sophomore year in college, you started this process, and then you didn't start coaching until I'm assuming after college.
Yeah, I started doing it professionally after college. In college, I was like mock training people.
Yeah, gotcha.
You take people to the gym, you give them routines, and you don't really understand that you're training them.
Hmm.
But then afterwards, they're like, oh, well, that's what you should do for your job. And yeah, you just fall into it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And what did you go to college for?
Entertainment and media.
Mm, yes, those are the same photos that I'm thinking of.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, look at you now. You started your own business in fitness, didn't use your college degree, which is what I like to hear. So why don't you give people a fast forward as to like who Maddie is today? Like, what does your business look like? What are you working on? Who are you? Give us a quick rundown.
Yeah. So I guess going off of that, when I got into the online space is also when a part of like my personal story really changed because I was getting into online training, and at the same time I developed a hormonal imbalance disorder called PCOS. And I don't know if you've ever went through like the personal training certification process, but they teach you basically nothing on hormonal imbalance issues. And I was going through it. I had no clue what was happening to me. Nobody was really helping me. Doctors weren't. And I almost gave up training because I felt all the imposter syndrome coming on. And so that was like a big breaking point with my business where I started finding out what was going on and realized that if I didn't understand it and I was a trainer, so many other women probably had no clue what was happening to them. And they were probably getting told, you're just not working hard enough. You're fine. Work harder, all that kind of stuff. So that really made a big shift into what I specialize in now, which is hormonal imbalances and stuff like that. And I was doing it in person full time, and now I'm completely online. Like you said, actually utilizing my degree in like things I'm passionate in.
Mhm.
So it all works together really great now, and I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. No, I think that's really fantastic that you're able to really find a niche that works for you and specialize and make yourself different online. Something that a lot of people don't understand how to do, and the way that you've done it is really great. That you know how to solve a specific problem that people need help with, and you have a consistent process for delivering a solution to that same problem over and over again in a scalable way.
Mhm.
So let's talk about the start of your business, because you started your business before joining PTBI, and you had gotten to you got to a level to where you're like, okay, this is working, but not as much as I want it to work. And so, tell me that process of like, what you were going through before PTBI, what changed after PTBI, and what led you up to PTBI takeover.
Yes. Okay. So basically, I had a whole nother fitness coach before you, and fantastic. It's what got me started in the online space. But the thing was is that I didn't resonate with the way it was going. They really pushed for like Facebook as being like my lead generation system. And I didn't resonate with Facebook clients at all. I was getting leads that I didn't like, they weren't my dream clients. I wasn't passionate about working with those people. And I kept seeing your ads pop. And I was like, it's cool. I guess I'll check them out. And I listened to your podcast for like 6 months. And everything that you talked about with like mindset and the way you should go about things, it really resonated with me. And I would watch all these success stories of your clients. And I was talking to my coach at the time, and I was like, I want to get on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, and the people who are my age, who are dealing with my issues, who I can help. And they weren't able to help me transition. And so that's why I think I was an inbound lead. I reached out to you because I was like, hey, I think I'm ready. Like, you don't have to sell me. I just want to start.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think you hit home a good point that like your ideal client will be on a different platform.
Yeah.
Right. TikTok is a new thing that's blowing up. If you are an upcoming coach and you're on the younger side, TikTok's definitely going to be a place for you. If you're in your 30s to 40s, Facebook or LinkedIn, it might be the place. But you know what? LinkedIn might be good for your early 20s too. I know people entering the corporate space is going to be getting into LinkedIn too. So let's fast forward a little bit. Let's talk about takeover. So I remember you going through PTBI, you saw really great success. You were making, full-time income. You're fully doing this on yourself, and you had a roster of 20 to 30 clients all on your own, which is fantastic. And then you messaged me about hiring a VA, and I'm like, don't do this on your own. It's messy. And I feel like a lot of people hear a lot of talk about virtual assistants, about, how great they are. And they're like, I'm going to go and find one online for cheap, or I'm going to go find one on my own. So tell me about your experience hiring your first VA. Was it US based? Was it overseas? Just give me the whole breakdown.
Yeah. So it's literally exactly what you said, where I asked Zach for advice, but I have always been such a stubborn person where I'm like, if I'm going to do it, I want to figure it out by myself. And he kept telling me, Maddie, it's not going to work. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And if I need help, I'll come back to you. And so I hired a US based one. I found a local girl who lives in Atlanta with me. And for the first month, it was fine. I wasn't quite sure how to do it. We were navigating the processes together. And then out of nowhere, just like quit cold turkey on me. She wasn't really doing the work that she was supposed to be doing. She had her own ideas for things. And then she quit for like a full-time job with like just out of nowhere. And so I was sitting there and I was like, I should have listened to Zach.
Because here you were back at square one.
Yep, exactly. And you had told me this too. You're like, you want someone who wants to work full-time for you, who's probably overseas, and they're solely dedicated to your business. And the US people are just looking for part-time jobs that will lead them to fill up space while they're
Exactly. Yeah. So just for everybody who's listening here, with US based VAs, from what I've seen, is like, it's not a career. It's usually like a stepping stone, or usually a part-time job that someone who, needs some side income can pick up here and there. And it's not something that they really show up and like push for your business, not like an overseas VA would that you can get for full time. The other thing too is like, with the way that the United States currency is working, you have to pay them, a pretty handsome salary in order for it to make sense for them to work full time. Whereas overseas, you can train someone to do the same exact job for literally a fraction of the price. And so for you, you're saving money, and they are overseas, they're making a significant amount of money. So it's a win-win in both situations. And two, I just find that the US based VAs, they just tend to be a little bit more entitled, in the sense that like, there's things that they won't do. They just simply like just won't do it. And I'm like, okay. But after going through takeover and learning the process of how to hire, how to train, how to build out systems, what was your experience like going through it yourself versus going through it with takeover?
Literally a million times easier. Like I didn't have I did the whole at first like sorting through all the applicants, trying to see who could even be a person to interview, interviewing every single I think I interviewed like 20 people, doing second interviews, like going and trying to figure out how to train the girl only for her to quit in a month, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And with takeover, it was literally just like, tell me what you want. I'm going to give you 3 applicants. You're going to interview them, see who fits. I'm going to tell you exactly how to train them. I'm going to help you train them. And then, like, if it's not working within a month, we're going to find you someone else. And my person was fantastic. Like, she's kicking ass to this day. So it was a perfect fit right away.
So one of the big things about takeover from PTBI is that there is a transit, like you do have to transform as a leader. Like you're not just working for yourself anymore. You know, you have a team, you have responsibility. So what did you learn about yourself and how did you change for the takeover program by learning how to lead other people?
That was something I actually really struggled with at first, honestly, because I'm someone who's very passive with the tone of voice I use with other people. I don't like to boss people around. And I found that if I wasn't direct and just like straight up with my expectations, you get walked over. And that's what I learned with my first VA. And so with my second one, I think I asked you advice a couple of times on like, hey, how do I like directly communicate without being too aggressive? And you're just like, just say it, man. And now it's very easy to, because now I have a VA and an assistant coach, and it's a lot easier to manage expectations, be kind, be a good boss, but also have like a firm, hey, this is what the expectations are. But it takes a while to get used to that if you've never been a boss before.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's a fun place to be because now like you're a boss, which
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. What did you learn about, like just going through the takeover program, about scaling, about hiring, about training? What did you learn most that transformed the way you do business?
Something that you actually had to remind me with a lot is that you're going to have seasons in your business. So during the whole scaling process, I had been so used to just like coasting on everything that I had built that I was consistently like slowly gaining more and more and more people every month. And when you're in the building process, you're not focused on the push, you're focused on the building aspect. So I had a freak out moment with Zach where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing all this work and like I'm not getting any incoming leads and like I'm really sucking in my sales calls and all this stuff. And he sat me down. You're literally like, Maddie, are you focused on that right now? Because you will be after this course is done, but right now that hasn't been your priority. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. Yeah, I can't do everything at once. And as soon as the course was over and I was like, okay, I built everything, I can trust it, I'm working. I've literally sold 5 people in the past like 2 weeks. Like,
Fuck yeah.
yeah,
I love it.
it worked.
Yeah, it's one of those hard situations that people don't understand with scaling is like you scale up to a certain level and then you get stuck and you
Yeah.
hit that ceiling. And in order to break through that ceiling, you have to take a step backwards, rebuild everything, and then accelerate. How does
Mhm.
it feel now that you have an assistant coach, helping out with coaching? You have a virtual assistant helping you out with, outreach and call booking. You have some of your time back, which is really amazing. So what's it been like now that you're on the other side?
Now it's weird because I almost feel like I'm being lazy when I
Dude,
don't
I
want
welcome
to.
to my world, man. It's an existential crisis.
Yeah, I sit there and I'm like, what do I do with my hands? Like I need to
Yeah.
be doing something at all times. And so it's like this almost like this breath of air that you can breathe. And now I have to figure out what else I want to do, you know?
Yes, dude. It's a very blessed place to be. Me and one of my good friends, we talk about this. We call it survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
And have you heard of survivor's guilt? Yeah. So for anyone who's listening, survivor's guilt is essentially like the PTSD trauma that people have from being the only survivor from an incident. So like imagine if you were in a plane crash and everyone died and you were the only survivor. Survivor's guilt would be the guilt you feel of like, why me? Why did I survive? And so we feel this when it's like, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon and we have a whole afternoon with nothing on the calendars and we can do whatever we want all day. And all these, like, we're like, why me? Like, I should be doing something bigger. Yeah.
Well, it's like, and you remember, like, it was less than a year ago when I was working from 6 a.m. till like 10 p.m. at night straight, doing nothing but at my laptop, busting my ass. So I'm like, I feel like I'm doing something wrong if I'm not at that level, but you did it all already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the beautiful thing about building a business is that you only need to build it once.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. So Maddie, I'm very, very excited to see where you're at in the future. I really appreciate your time to share your story and share what you've learned. Do you have any advice for people who are in the process of maybe hiring their first virtual assistant and they want to do it on their own, or they're thinking about takeover and scaling, but they might be a little bit nervous? Anybody who's just on the cusp of joining takeover, what would you say to them?
The only advice I would give is something that actually I think you've given me, and now I literally just hired another coach and she gave me the exact same thing. I tell this to clients, is that you can't do brain surgery on yourself, right? So if you need help, you're never going to be able to get you to that spot that you want to do, especially if you've never done it before. And so if you have that gut instinct that you know what you should be doing and you're just scared, always do it, because somebody else is going to be able to help you out way more than you could do it for yourself, even if you think you know what you're doing. That makes sense.
Awesome. Awesome. And where can people find you online?
My Instagram is mv_fitness_. And then same thing with like TikTok and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's
perfect. Awesome. Maddie, thank you so much. We'll end it, guys, here. Peace.
Thank you so much. Bye, Zach.